Okay, so in this video we're going to look at Final IK and how it integrates into the VR weapon interactor. We're going to set up IK points, aka inverse kinematic points, that the hands are going to attach to, and we're going to set up hand poses using a script that the Final IK has included in it. So to start off with, let's have a look at the player rig. In this case it's an Oculus native rig, but it's pretty much exactly the same for Steam VR. So it's a normal rig. You have the controllers with the VR interactor scripts on them, and we have the model from the Final IK with its VR IK script on it. Its VR IK script has all references to all of the bones, and it has its solver here that connects it to its anchor points, the points that the model's trying to attach to. So it's got a neck head here, and that attaches to the neck bone on the camera rig. So on Steam VR, it would just be under the main camera. For the two hands, there are two objects, one under each of the controllers. They're just empty objects with a little bit of a rotation on them to look right with the model. So obviously this hand bone is slightly different, so it needs a slight offset, and that's what this is. And the VR interactor script references that IK target right here. So what's going to happen is when you pick up a weapon, this IK target is going to become a child of that weapon. So we'll have a look over at the at this AKM right here in the scene. You can see that it has. I've set up it for the left hand, and we're going to set up the right hand in this video. So the left hand has an inverse kinematic thing, so it's right here. So all that's going to happen when you pick it up with the left hand is that it's going to put this left hand target as a child of this left IK target with a local rotation and position of 0. So it's basically going to match the rotation of the target, and that's going to snap the hand into a position where it's into a position that looks right. So in every VR interactable item, and so the gun handler is one of the items that inherits from interactable item, you see all of its settings here. Right here we have a fold out, normally folded up like this, a fold out called IK, and it's the left and right hand are done separately. So this one, like I said, is set up for the left hand. You see that it references this IK target with its offset, and it also has here, it's called a pose name, and this is just the name of the pose. So it's called left hand underscore rifle trigger, and if we go right over here, we can see left hand right underscore rifle trigger is right here. It's an object. And on the pilot object, this is the same object as the VR IK. We have a script here just called hand pose controller, and it has a list of all of these poses. So all of these are poses, and if you drill down into them, you'll see that it's actually the hand bones. So if we look at the actual model right here and say look at one of the hands, like the left hand here, you can see that actually it's copying the bones. So all these poses are the bones in formation. So that's enough explaining of the theory. Let's actually put it into practice and set up the other hand for this. So the right hand is what we're going to set up. So the first thing we're going to do is this is the gun handler object, and it has its root object. So as a child of the root object, we're going to make a new empty object, and this is going to be our right hand target. So I'll call it as such. So this is our right hand IK target, and I'm just going to put it right next to the other one just so it's neat. And right here we can reference it, right hand IK target, so that's now referenced. And obviously you see here, because it's a blank object, it's got 0 position and 0 rotation. That's fine because we're going to pose it at runtime. So just for setting up initially, we can leave it at 0, and then we can actually position it in a second. So we'll save this as a prefab, and now we'll jump into VR, and we'll actually go and pose this. So switch this off, and let's get into VR. Okay, so here we are in VR, and you can see if I grab with the left hand even, you'll see that this is how it looks when it's fully set up. It's in position, and you can see that the hand's there. And if I pull this to the trigger, you can see that it actually pulls the trigger as you'd expect it to. The actual finger moves as it's supposed to. Now if we grab it with our other hand, this is what 0, position and rotation looks like. Not quite right, and obviously we have no pose on the hand either, so it's just using its default shape. So what we're going to do is, while holding it, I'm going to hold my controller up in the air here with one hand, and my other hand I'm going to manipulate the mouse, and I'm just going to pause the game at there, and then I'm able to put my controller down. Now it's paused, we can have a look here at the thing, and we can see that the right hand IK target, this is our empty 00 object that we made just a few seconds ago. We can expand this and see that it has done what we expected. It's put the target, the hand target, as a child of it and as a position 0. So what we can do is this IK target, the position thing that we're targeting, we can start rotating this. And now you notice that we rotate here, don't see the difference. You have to press this little skip forward 1 frame button to actually see the difference. And thankfully, it doesn't actually update where the current controller position is. So you can, so even so, I've put my controller down on the ground. I don't have to hold my hand up the whole time. And because we're on toggle to pick up, I don't have to hold down the grip button on the controller in order to keep gripped. Because if the toggle to pick up isn't on, then the grip button needs to be held down while holding the button. And if you let go of the grip button and try and pause it, it will actually still drop the weapon. So you need to in order to pose it, you do need to temporarily switch it to toggle to pick up if you don't normally use toggle to pick up on the item. Obviously this gun does actually use that. Okay, so that looks about right for position. We're not going to worry about the pose on this particular iterance. We just want to save this. So what we're going to do is, now we've got our position that actually looks correct, we're going to click copy component, and we can stop it running and then paste component as values. And now we can see our right hand IK target, our empty object, is now positioned just as it was in the scene. And we can click apply to that and run it one more time. And this is our right hand. So we'll grab it with our right hand, and you can see now, even so there's no pose, our hand is now sticking to the position that we just set it to. So once again, for the actual pose, we're going to do almost the same thing. Hold our hand in the air, press pause, and put our controller down. Now we can actually do the bones. Now the IK target's saved, we can mess around with the actual bone position. So we're going to look at the hand, the actual hand, and the right hand is here. Okay, so we're actually going to manipulate the actual bones on the object to get this right. So I'm just going to pose this into position. Okay, so now that's posed, we can add the trigger finger. Now obviously most of the time you don't need to add the trigger finger if this was for something else, but because this is a gun, we actually want the trigger finger to move along with the trigger. So to do that, what we're going to do is pick our bone that we want to move. In this case, it'll be the second bone in this finger, and we're going to add a gun trigger script, and temporarily we're going to reference the gun handler of the weapon we're actually currently holding. The weapon, anytime you hold a weapon, it gets made a child of the rig. So it's right here, the weapon AKM, and that's its gun handler that it's asking for. So its current position we want to set to default, and we actually want to untick this so that it doesn't run when we press skip, and click that. Then for our second position we want to rotate it a little bit, not quite that much. Something about there. This is obviously, I'm doing this kind of quickly, but you can spend a bit more time over it. So that's its pull position, and then we can click toggle, and you see that's the movement it's going to make, and that's it. So now that's all set up. So we can go to our top bone, where we saw before it was the wrist bone is where the pose is coming from. So we're going to copy this. So this bone obviously is the one that is referenced right here. It's left hand. So that's the bone we're copying, and it's the one we've just posed. So we're copying that as an object. Then we can stop running. We can collapse that and paste this as a child of the rig, and it joins all of its other poses. All these are poses, and we can name this what it is, which is the right hand rifle trigger. And then we can add it to our list of hand pose controls. So we add it to 10 and reference our new pose, and we can save that. Then we just want to grab the name here. It's called right hand underscore trigger, and then we go to our weapon, and right here on the right hand IK pose name, paste in the name. So all it's going to do is look through the list, this list right here, and see if it finds one that matches, and if it does, it's going to use that pose. And also it's going to look to see if there's a gun trigger script in there, and if there is, then it's going to use that as well. and it's going to basically make this VR gun handler referenced by that gun trigger script, and then unreferenced when you let go. So we can test that out. We can run the run VR again, and we can grab it up, and we can see that now our right hand is posed just as we posed it, and we can see this little trigger. If I grab my other hand, get rid of this, so you can see. Oh, it's not working. Oh yeah, it's not working because we forgot to enable it. So right here, last little thing, because obviously we disabled this script so that we could pose it. We need to enable it again, and we can disable this reference that's not needed anymore. Run that one more time, and now it should work. And it does. Yep. So that's all it was. The script just needs to be enabled in that pose there. Obviously, it does need to be disabled when you're actually posing it, but then needs to be enabled after you've copied it into the main scene. And if we put some shots off, you see that works just as the other hand works. So that's the basics of setting it up. Now, it's the exact same for all VR interactable items, and that's everything that inherits from interactable items as well. So we can look at this this pistol that I've set up earlier, and now this pistol is completely done. So you can see that its IK targets are set up, and those are its targets, and those are its names, but also additionally things like the slide. Here's the slide, IK, references its two IK targets. Again, they're just children to the root, so this is the root object of the slide, and as long as they're children of that, the target will be made children when it gets picked up, and they're also using their specific animations. And again, for the magazine, that's a completely separate object. Mag script is here, IK targets, left and right, and then names the pose, and that pose just appears on this list. So for instance, that one I think is using the torch hold. Yep. So I set this up originally with a torch, but again, obviously, you can use poses for more than one item. You can set up more of a generic pose and use it for multiple items, and that works fine. So if we have a look at the pistol, obviously the pistol is an example of an item that we've completely set up. So we can pick it up, we can hold it, we can try and pull the trigger, you see everything moves. If we grab the slide here, you can see it all connects up. And if we grab one of these, you can see that it's using a grab pose, and we can load this up and pull back the slide so it's loaded, and fire off a few shots. And that works fine. So that's it. That's how to set up final IK poses in the VR Weapon Interactor asset. I hope this helped. Thanks a lot for watching.